Hi ho ho, it's me, Rich Deckard, back at it again with a Boy Time Presents on Ridley Scott's Blade Runner. And as always, I'm joined by Babby.
Mm.
Mmm. It's been a hot minute since we did a Boy Time Presents. Things were busy in December for both of us. So now it's January and we're back at it with with Blade Runner. And now this was your choice. I
Mhm.
I gave you a list of 100 or so movies because you mentioned that this year you wanted to get into movies a little bit because your girlfriend was giving you shit or something. Is that correct?
I've always been a little I don't watch a lot of movies.
Mm,
And there's been multiple parties in my life that tells me, "Why don't you want to watch a movie?" So, I'm going to watch the movies.
okay. Well, we've done a little bit last year with like Blue
Mhm.
Velvet and Stalker. Those are only two movie ones we've done.
Um, I think so. I thought there was one more, but I don't remember what it was.
Well, the third one is
Maybe we
this,
didn't. Yes.
I guess. But yeah, I was kind of surprised of all of the movies that we have on the list, or I added to the list. I was, oh, Blade Runner, okay. So what made you pick Blade Runner?
I wanted to watch this movie so I can watch Blade Runner 2049.
It's fair.
That was my main motivation, honestly, because that's one that both of us in this household wants to see.
mm,
But this is the first
yes.
edition, so we cannot skip this one.
I don't, yeah, I mean, I guess theoretically you could. There's, there's
I feel
not a
like I could have. I
whole,
think I understand the premise really easily, but
yes.
I'm glad that this was, before that movie.
Yes. Yeah. You're not really I mean you could go straight to 2049, but you're going to be missing out on a great
I want to
movie.
get the full picture.
Yeah. Well, maybe that'll be our next presents cuz I haven't
Mhm.
seen 2049 in a hot minute and I remember liking it way more than the original.
I'm
Uh
assuming that's what's going to happen with us as well.
okay. Okay. So I guess that kind of gets us started. So what did you think of the movie? Just kind of overall impressions.
I think it was very solid.
Okay.
Um, I like the noir. I think the setting of it and everything is like very, very, very cool.
Yes.
Um, the world building and everything for like the 80s and this kind of future 2025 where well, some of it is laughable, but it has this kind of like 80s quirk where it's like, oh, they didn't know anything. It's just like him reading a newspaper when there's like flying cars and skyscrapers and everything is just
Yeah.
really funny to me.
Everybody has
um
CRT monitors and everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
but the atmosphere was really nice. I did enjoy that. I think it is a little weird with all the little people in like Asian
Mm.
groups running around as like the
Yeah.
definition of dystopian future. That's a little odd to me.
Yeah.
Um, but I do like all the glowy neon lights and the depressing kind of like neo noir like twist they
Hmm.
had on it. I think that is very cool. The soundtrack might be my favorite part of the movie. Actually, the
Oh yeah, it's
soundtrack was
great.
really fantastic. Um, yeah, overall, I think it does kind of suffer some 80s isms that I do have issues with,
Hmm.
where there is villain characters that need to have this like crazy weird build up, and then there's this like super long drawn
Oh,
out fight scene and all these different weird things.
sure.
I don't think it took away from the movie. I think it just added to like the more 80s flair. But
Hmm.
um, I don't know. I wanted more character depth in general in this movie. I do
Mm.
love the premise and the I think the ending was really great.
Oh
Like
yeah.
that kind of thing was really working for me. I think just like overall the characters didn't have enough depth for me.
Mm.
Harrison Ford just kind of like I'm an ex-cop and I'm
Yeah.
on the case constantly and I'm making really weird advances on this
Uh-huh.
robot woman out of nowhere and we're supposed to feel like that's a romantic connection, but it just made me feel really weird.
Oh yeah, there's like no
Um,
chemistry there.
Yeah, absolutely none. That came out of nowhere. I was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I don't know. I'm conflicted on parts of the movie, but I think overall I found it really solid.
Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat. And I guess we should say right up front that we both watched the final cut.
Yes, that is important.
There are at least 7 that have been available to the public, but there's more floating around that, like, because Ridley Scott, I guess, in the 90s, 2000s, was just, like, making cuts of this movie and then showing it to friends or other colleagues. So, like, we know of, like, probably around 10, but there's 7 that were, like, widely released. There's 3 that are available now. You have the theatrical cut, the director's cut, and the final cut. And there's a bunch of differences in all of that. The main one is that the theatrical cut has narration by Harrison Ford, who is
So great.
he's yes. Um, so the story goes that the studio thought that the audience wouldn't understand what was going on, so they were like, "Hey, it's already kind of a neo-noir thriller. Let's just add in some narration that kind of evokes that old noir feel." Harrison Ford thought it was very dumb, and a lot of the lines that they wrote for him are like, "This is what happened in the last scene that just happened, but let me explain to you what just happened in case you didn't get it." And it's kind of dumb. It's honestly kind of amazing that people liked this movie when it came out, because that really
Yeah.
drags the whole thing. And they also changed the ending in the theatrical
Okay.
cut. So in the final cut and the director's cut, it's like they find the little origami unicorn and they get on the elevator, and then that's when it ends. In the theatrical cut, there's an additional scene of them like driving away in a car, and they're getting like close-ups of them, and then like Harrison Ford's like, "I don't know why the detective guy spared Rachel, but I guess we're gonna have a happily ever after," and then that's when it ends.
That's not a
uh
good ending.
no, it really isn't. um and also the thing, maybe the most controversial thing that was added, is the unicorn scene. Did that feel out of place to you at all? That it just randomly cuts to a unicorn?
It was a little out of place. I got the connection at the end, but it was just like,
Mm.
oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that was added in the director's cut. That is unused footage from Ridley Scott's movie Legend. That is like a dark fantasy thing that came out, I think, in the late 80s. And he was like, "Hey, I'm gonna add it because there's an origami unicorn at the end, and that's going to imply that Deckard is a replicant." Because
Okay, that's kind of what I figured, but I
that
wasn't sure if that's what that was trying to do.
that's what it's trying to do. That's something that Ridley Scott has in his head, that is canon. I believe the screenwriters don't like that. I believe I'm not sure if Philip K. Dick saw that, because it's based on a Philip K. Dick
Mhm.
book, "Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep?" Uh, and I think Harrison Ford has like been very public that it's very dumb and he doesn't like it. Um, and like they had a fight about it when the director's cut came out, and then on the set for 2049, they got in a big fight about it then too. So it's been like this big thing. Uh, but yeah, in the final cut, they kept it. So I'm not sure like what happened there. But those are the big changes. There's a lot of like little things. Like the final cut adds more gore. Uh, so like when Rutger Hauer, I don't remember his character's name, the
I
leader
don't either,
replicant
but
guy,
yeah.
when he like stabs Tyrell's eyes out, in the theatrical and director's cut, it cuts away before the blood starts gushing out. But in the final
Mhm.
cut, they left that in. So I think the final cut is kind of definitively like it's the best one. It's not perfect because it has that weird unicorn thing in it that implies that Deckard's a replicant, which he isn't. But
Yeah. Not the weirdest thing in the movie though, so I didn't find issue with that.
no, no, it does just it kind of comes out of nowhere because he's like when he's
Yeah,
like
it
playing
does.
this piano, and then like he falls asleep for like a second, but then he like wakes up immediately. But I guess in that
Mhm.
second he dreamed of a unicorn running around. Like I don't know. It's weird. Uh, but yeah, that was a long-winded thing to say that we watched the final cut, and I also think the movie is pretty good. I think what it does best is the technical stuff.
Hmm.
And I think that is maybe unpopular because, like, I know a lot of people hate the enhance scene. I love that scene. I think it's
I thought it
great.
was nice.
Yeah, but I love stuff like that that gets really into the weeds, where it's like we're really picking apart the details and doing that. It's very goofy, and that's not how anything works. But it's kind of cool.
It made more sense than a lot of the other technology that they had in the movie.
That's true. That's true. It is kind of funny that this movie takes place in 2019.
Hmm.
Uh, and that's something I've never really gotten with like big sci-fi things like this, where it's like, okay, in 30 years, this is what life is going to be like.
Yeah, I'm like, there's no way development can be that quick.
Yeah, yeah. We don't have giant blimps going
No,
around, but there wasn't really blimps in the 80s either.
no, we kind
So,
of like we were over blimps in like the 1910s
which is unfortunate. I think we need to bring them back.
because of one fatal flaw.
Oh yeah, you just changed the gas. There,
Yeah, I suppose
well, yeah, and the
nothing
Hindenburg,
can pop that at all. Yeah,
they were just like, we're out of helium. Let's use hydrogen instead. But then the hydrogen is extremely flammable, which I guess they didn't think about. But yeah,
whoopsie.
sorry to all the Zeppelin lovers out there. They're gone. But yeah, movie's pretty good, I guess. Deckard, I think Harrison Ford is maybe the coolest uh, I've ever seen. Like, not so much in his acting because it's kind of one note, but like,
Yeah,
man, that trench coat and just like the vibes of rainy
everybody has a
LA.
sick coat in this movie.
I know. I wish I could get that trench coat, but everyone would look at me like I was some sort of creeper.
Yeah, just gotta pull it off. You can
Yeah.
make it work.
I don't know if I could. And have the collar popped up the whole time.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't think I could make that work, but who knows? Maybe one day. But yeah, maybe go over the plot a little bit. I don't think we really need to spend too much time on it cuz it's
pretty
something that
straightforward.
most people get.
Yeah.
But yeah, takes place in the far distant future of 2019. At this point, a company called the Tyrell Corporation has started making what they call replicants, which are essentially androids that are designed to be as close to humans as possible. I think they were created for just like slave labor and like the because I guess they have like colonies. Again, maybe just add like 100 years or something. Um, but they work over. I was gonna say overseas, over space. I guess they do menial labor, hard labor, and also sex, which is something that they added in this movie. I think Ridley Scott may be a secret pervert slash maybe xenophobe because in the original story there's no like the Asian culture isn't like really in it. For some reason, that was something that he added, and also all the little people. I don't think like the toys weren't in the book, so I don't really know. I don't know why what Ridley
I
Scott
thought
is
that was
thinking.
cool. Like, I thought all the toys were cool.
I liked them.
Yeah,
I think it scarred
I
like
don't
a
know.
certain generation though.
It is so weird though that like this is like the cyberpunk aesthetic now has included just like Asian takeover of California.
Yeah, I don't get that.
I don't really know why.
I mean, I know that there are like large Asian communities on the West Coast
Yeah,
because of immigration, but like I don't know if like it would become Neo Tokyo. That's kind of like
right.
what Cyberpunk did too.
Exactly. I'm like the aesthetics line up almost one to one, and if you look at this movie and Cyberpunk,
Oh yeah, yeah.
which I'm sure Cyberpunk just took a whole bunch of this
Oh
stuff.
oh,
So
absolutely. This and like Escape from New York, kind of like
mhm.
future dystopia. I don't know. I don't really like that game or the world because it's just wholly unoriginal, but
Yeah.
it's fine. But our plot follows Deckard, played by Harrison Ford, who is what they call a Blade Runner, uh, who are, I guess, cops that are specifically trained to
Slave
locate,
catchers.
yeah, essentially slave catchers, but with a cooler name. Blade Runner might be the coolest name for
That's true.
any bounty hunter ever. That's so sick. But yeah, well, he's retired, but then his boss, M. Emmett Walsh, is like, there's 4 replicants that escaped Mars and now are on Earth, and you're the only man for the job, Deckard. I need you back on the force. But here's something I don't really get about that. Because Harrison Ford, Deckard is already, or was already, a Blade Runner. When M. Emmett Walsh calls him back into service, he sits him down in the projector room and he's like, this is what replicants are. I'm like, why are you explaining it to him? He knows. But then, like, Harrison Ford asks questions. He's like, oh, wait, so these things are robots? I'm like, you should know this. You're already, you were already a Blade Runner. Why are you confused about replicants? But that's the thrust of the story. There's 4 replicants. Harrison Ford has to hunt them, and that's it. He falls in love with a lady who turns out to be a robot, and the lady and him have no chemistry. And honestly, no shade to the actress, but she does not do a very good job, just kind of in general. And probably some of this is Ridley Scott's directing. I should maybe say that I don't like Ridley Scott at all. I think he's kind of a talentless hack, but that's kind of neither here nor there.
I could see it.
I think all of his successes have been accidents, and I've never really like loved. I think the one movie I really love from him is Alien, but that's it. Like I don't really like Gladiator, and this movie is like pretty good at best. But yeah, I don't think that she really was given great directing. If like the point of the movie is to show that replicants like are more human than human, like that's kind of the thesis.
Hmm.
It, because like Harrison Ford is this like drunk ex-cop who's just like floating through life. He's like miserable, but it's a robot that teaches him to love life again. Both Rachel and Rutger Hauer, and his great speech at the end. So if that's your thing, you want to show how maybe humanity has lost its humanity and it needs artificial life to show them how to regain it, then having Rachel be portrayed as explicitly a robot. Like she acts like a robot. I never once believed her to be anything but a robot. That seems like it's kind of a problem if that's the point of the movie. I,
Yeah, I thought her opening scene was really strong, but then after that, like they didn't know what to do with her.
no.
Like, oh, I guess this is the love interest to drive the plot forward. I don't know what to do with this. I guess we'll just have them forcibly kiss and do something, I guess, and then the audience will be like, "Oh, there's a connection there."
Yeah, do we just want to talk about the scene?
Yeah.
That's probably we can't keep dancing around it. I didn't remember that. That was one thing that I was like, "Oh no, this is really bad."
Yeah.
Where like Harrison Ford kind of has Rachel like pinned up against the wall, and it's like, "Say you want me," and she's like, "I want you," and he was like, "Say it again." I'm like, "What is this? Is this supposed to be romance? Is this what Ridley Scott's view of
Yeah.
romance is?"
I didn't understand what was happening there. I don't think either of them acted that scene well at
No,
all,
no,
which may be part of why it's so awkward and uncomfortable. But I don't think it was well
yeah.
written or well performed. And
Mm-mm.
if you were going to do something like that, I think there was a lot better ways to go about it. It felt shoehorned just to drive the plot.
Yeah. I won't even say it's poorly written because I feel like with better performances, you can kind of make that
Yeah.
work. Like, because I don't think there's anything explicitly in that script that comes off as like rapey. But
No,
man, the
yeah,
way
I
that
think it's just the way they did it.
the way
Yeah.
that Harrison Ford does it, it's
It's
very
not great.
scary. And I guess that's more like behind the scenes stuff. Harrison Ford and oh, I forgot her name. It's like Sean Young I think that's her name, Sean Young. They hated each other on set. They like stayed far away from each other, did not talk. Harrison Ford and Ridley Scott hated each other. Like it was just kind of like this toxic environment the whole time. So I think that's kind of why Harrison Ford kind of gives the performance he does. It's not bad, but it also compared to
Well, one note.
yeah, but I mean, you compare that to other stuff from like right before this was like Indiana Jones and Star
Hmm.
Wars, and it's like that is like night and day Harrison Ford acting between those two and Blade Runner. So yeah, it's a bad scene acted very poorly, and it's very it doesn't do anything. Doesn't I mean it doesn't do anything good.
No. If anything, it's just like, why? I was just questioning it the whole movie. Then I'm like, I don't. That really just like took it down a couple of notches for me.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's fair. Because I mean, I don't know. I have this movie at a 3.5. I think if the scene wasn't in it, it might be a 4.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. Yeah, maybe we should talk a little bit about the bad guys because I think they're way more interesting than any of our
Hmm.
protagonists. Rutger Hauer and his merry band of pranksters. There's him, and then the weasel-looking guy,
Hmm.
and then there's Daryl Hannah from Splash and other things, but that's what I know her from. Who plays the chick who gets black spray paint over her eyes. And then
Hmm.
there's other lady who isn't really established and then is murdered.
Yeah.
But we do
That
see her
just kind of
naked, so
happens.
that's a big plus in my book. Yeah, but like the whole reason that they're there is that they want to essentially like have their life extended, uh, because they're all getting close to their like retirement dates. Because I guess Tyrell Corporation, they were like, "Uh-oh, we made an android that was too advanced and like whatever, too close to humanity." That after 4 years, they start developing emotional reactions to things, and that gets dangerous. It's heading towards the singularity. So they built in essentially a self destruct thing. It's not like explosive, but they just like shut off after 4 years. And all four of them are getting close to their 4 year deadline. So they escaped Mars and are going to confront Tyrell. And that's an interesting premise. I kind of wish that the movie was about that. These replicants, these robots that were are starting to develop human emotions, but in gaining those emotions are afraid of dying and afraid of losing them. Like that's an interesting concept, and I wish they weren't the bad guys that we watched Deckard shoot in the back or in the front or all over the place, I guess. I don't know. What did you think of Rutger Hauer?
Um, I enjoyed his character quite a bit. I think he did fall into 80s villain tropes again for me a little bit. I think it's
Mhm.
fine, but it's also a little heavy-handed. Where it's
A
like,
little
I
bit.
have this master plan, and I'm gonna toy with you in our final confrontation for 20 minutes. Um, but
Yeah.
I did enjoy like, yeah, him and the other chick. I thought those two were really well done, in their funny clown goth makeup. Um, but yeah, I think he really showed the premise of the humanity in the robot type thing they were going for the best. I think he knocked it out of the park when it came to that.
Oh yeah.
Um, I do think like the final little confrontation was a little drawn out, but it made sense in the end. I do think that final scene is really great.
It's very
I think that
fantastic.
saved the movie
Hmm.
to me
Oh
because
yeah.
I think we both when we were watching it here, where we're like things just are happening all of the time. The plot is moving forward just so quickly. There's
Yes.
no like downtime. Like people are getting shot, and then like the other replicants are just standing there watching the other one get shot. I'm like, why aren't you guys running? Like,
Yeah.
why are you all just in the same block? But no, I found his character really enjoyable. I think he really brought the heart out of I think every character in the movie, he had the most like passion and actual heart in him, which I think needed to be done for it to be pulled off well. So,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, I
That
thought the monologue was pretty sick too. I can't believe they had freaking dialogue over the end of that or voiceover at the end of that in the theatrical cut.
well,
I'm like, that's the
yeah.
best part of the movie. Why are you explaining it to me?
Yeah, there's that great monologue, and then immediately Harrison Ford
Yeah.
starts yapping, just
So
like,
basically,
so basically, this is what this guy literally just said. I'm just gonna dumb it down for you.
those ending explained videos on YouTube make so much more sense now because that's how movies used to be apparently.
Yeah, the studios were really just like, I don't think the audience is gonna get
They're
any sort
too
of similar.
stupid to figure this out.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But famously, this is the. Did you know that the Viggo Mortensen actually broke his foot when he kicked the helmet thing?
Oh,
But famously in this
interesting.
movie, there is that monologue was at least partially improvised.
Mm.
I believe the original script was like just Rutger Hauer pulling Deckard up, and then like I don't know if he said anything, and then he just like released the dove and died. And so then like on set, Rutger Hauer was like, "This needs to get spiced up a little bit. Let me see what I can come up with." And like he came up with maybe one of the best monologues in film history
Just out of nowhere.
out of nowhere.
Saved the entire movie for me.
Absolutely, it's like I honestly can't believe that like that last line is phenomenal. Like all of our lives
Yeah.
and memories are going to disappear like tears in rain. How do you come up with that on the spot? That's insane. It's kind of nutty that like this dude wasn't really in.
He's a better writer than Ridley Scott.
Absolutely. I can't believe he wasn't like a huge star. Like he really wasn't in a lot of other movies, or at least big movies after this. Like he was in a lot of like B movie trash stuff. I'm like, why? He's like phenomenal in this movie. I wish someone else took a chance on him.
Hmm.
I guess it's not too late. He's 75, but oh wait, no, he died.
Oh, well, it is too late.
Yeah, it's too late. Sorry, Rutger Hauer. But yeah, I think the whole movie pretty much rests on him. I mean, that's the thesis, and I think all of the stuff leading up to that final confrontation is great. Like, I love the scene where him and Weasel are like interrogating the like Asian tube man that makes the
Hi,
eyes.
guy.
Like that's all like really really great,
Hmm.
like perfect like lawful evil villain stuff. And then when Weasel sticks his hand in like the freezing cold, and like it looks really convincing. I'm like, I don't, did this guy get like cancer from this seems like something that they would do on a film set in the early 80s, and then it would be like, this is actually a toxic chemical,
A
you
Wizard
know.
of Oz.
Yeah, like, did you know that they sprinkled asbestos on everybody and most of the people that were in that movie died from cancer? Just a fun little fact about
Just a
that.
fun quirk.
Plus, it lines up with Dark Side of the Moon. Did you know that?
It's true.
Yeah. I've never done that. I thought about doing it.
There's a restaurant by us that like it's like a hi-fi bar. They
Oh.
they did Dark Side of the Moon while The Wizard of Oz was playing at the same time. I did not get to
Mm,
go, but it seemed interesting.
that would have been cool, I think. I know.
I've never done
I think you press play on the second roar from the MGM Lion, and then it lines up. Uh,
that. Yeah, that's kind of crazy how someone found that
yeah, I don't know how.
like randomly.
Yeah, it's this like for some reason in like that period of time, people were just like bored because like who was reversing like Black Sabbath records and it's like that guy says Satan backwards. This is demonic. Like who's sitting
Yeah,
around doing
I don't
that?
know.
I don't. I guess people didn't have iPhone and Twitter, so I
Yeah.
guess people were
Now we
just bored.
just 100% achievement games and scroll social media all day.
That's right. At least that's what I do. Well, not so much the social media thing. I don't really go on Twitter. And factually, the day that we recorded this, I opened Twitter and got the worst news I've ever gotten in my
Yeah,
entire life.
exactly. I'm like,
So
nope, that's enough for today.
that's
I'm
enough
good.
for today. I don't want to date this. I mean, I guess I could. It doesn't really matter.
We'll date the other podcast
We'll
on
date
here.
the other. Yeah, yeah, because the other
Yeah,
podcast we're going to be talking about it.
yeah.
Uh, but yeah, Blade Runner. Is there anything else to say about Blade Runner? I feel like we just had to do this one so that we can get to 2049.
Yeah, that was my premise going in, and I think that still stands true. I don't know.
Yes.
I think 2049, in my head, I haven't seen it, obviously, but I feel like it will pick up the slack where this one had some downturns for me. Um,
Yeah.
hopefully, at least.
And
So,
I guess we can kind of, well, I guess there isn't a whole lot to say, but in the like, it is interesting that like there is a schism among people, maybe like age wise, where I feel like if you are
mhm,
above 35, people say that like Blade Runner, the original, is way superior to 49, and 2049 is like a travesty that it even came out. And then everyone under that is like 2049 is absolutely amazing. It's better than the original. So I don't really know what to think anymore. I don't know who's right. Well, I know what I
I don't
think.
know.
And I think it's the younger people are
I just think
correct.
it's gonna take the most perfect movie I've ever seen for me to enjoy like an 80s American movie, like to
Mm.
a substantial amount where I'm like, this is a masterpiece.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think the most impressive, like the best done stuff in this movie are the practical effects. Like
Yeah.
that is it's like absolutely phenomenal. It's amazing that this movie looks the way it does. And it came out in 82. So like the miniatures, all of the matte paintings look absolutely phenomenal. You watch this thing in 4K and it still holds up like all of the special effects do. And I think that's honestly just a testament to if you like really put in the work for practical effects, how great that they can age. Um,
Hmm.
because like all of it's fantastic. The only things that like really stick out are the ads, the product placement. Everything is owned by
Yep.
Coca-Cola or
Which is
Atari.
true. Yeah, I saw the Atari one. I'm like, ooh.
They got that one wrong, but
Yeah.
Coca-Cola still
You
is
literally couldn't have known better, so it's just like a fun little novelty thing.
yeah, that's true. In 82, well then Nintendo was out, but Atari was the
It
name.
was, but yeah.
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 I think just the best parts of this movie are the atmosphere, the soundtrack, and the ending
Mhm.
monologue. Everything else
Yeah.
I can kind of take or leave. I think it's still solid, but like nothing I have like, I don't have thoughts or feelings that it really gave me. It's kind of just like going through the motions for most of it. Um,
Yeah.
but
Yeah. Yeah, I
yeah,
don't
I
get
gave it a
the
3.
that's fair. I think that that is completely fair.
Mhm.
Some people might disagree, but I don't. I
That's fine.
I've barely. I only gave it half a star more, and I was. I thought it was funny. I was like getting ready to log it on Letterbox, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure I gave this a 4, but I'm gonna take it down to 3.5, and it was already at a
Mhm.
3.5. I'm like, oh, I guess
Oh,
nothing has
we're good.
changed in like the 5 years or something since I've seen the original.
Yeah. I do that a lot though. I'll like listen to an album again that I haven't listened to in a long time. Be like, oh, I should change the rating on this. And then the rating is already like what I put it as. I'm like, I must have done a good job with it.
Yeah, I like that. But yeah, next month we'll do Blade Runner 2049, the Denis
Hmm.
Villeneuve version, which is
I'm
great.
excited to see my boy.
Ryan Gosling,
Hmm.
he's great. Everybody's great in that movie. I think I'm excited to rewatch it because I think I watched that movie like a couple years separated from seeing Blade Runner. So like a lot of the like references and stuff I didn't completely get. I'm like, oh yeah, that I think I remember something about that, but it'll be great to go from watching Blade Runner to watching 2049.
Yeah,
It'll be
I think doing these back to
fun.
back will be beneficial.
Absolutely. Absolutely. But I think that'll pretty much do it for this Boy Time Presents. Unless you have something earth shattering you want to say.
No, I wish I had more to say about this movie, but I think that just is how I feel about it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, hopefully we'll have more to say about 2049. I think that
Yeah.
2049 executes on the thesis of like the replicants being more human than human way
Hmm.
better than the original Blade Runner does.
Yeah. I mean, like we were talking after the movie, and it's like Ex Machina kind of did all of this
Mm,
better. Like it's not a complete one to one, but
yeah. Oh, that's a good point.
I enjoy that movie a lot more.
Ex Machina is great. I need to rewatch that one.
Yeah.
Shout out Alex Garland.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's his new movie? The one that
The
the
freaking I forgot the name of it, but it's like an Iraq war
yeah, the
something or other.
Iraq one. Yeah.
Yeah, after it's fresh off of Civil War. Like, what are you doing over there?
I don't know. I don't know. Civil War is good, but I don't understand the Iraq war. I'm very concerned on what his take
Yeah.
on it is going to be. But yeah, that's it.
That's it.
Bye.